I'm Cherylanne Skolnicki, and this is Brilliant Balance, the show for working women who are ready to shine. Each week, I bring you ideas, inspiration, and insight on balance, business, and getting it all done gracefully. You ready? Let's be brilliant. This is episode 109 of the Brilliant Balance podcast. So happy Thanksgiving week to you. I hope you are anticipating some time off at the end of this week and a great gathering with family or friends to celebrate the many blessings in your life. I know this really is one of my favorite days of the year. I love all the holidays, if I'm honest, but there's something about Thanksgiving that just doesn't carry the same amount of pressure the Christmas holiday does. And it just is a wonderful time of year where we're ready to sort of retreat into ourselves and become a little bit more reflective as the days get shorter. So it's always been one of my favorite times to travel and gather with family and have wonderful food. You know me, I love all things food. So this is a great chance to celebrate some of our favorite family recipes and try some new ones. So I hope you're looking forward to a couple of days of relaxation and you haven't gotten swept fully up in the Christmas craziness just yet. But I did want to say, I've learned over the years in the work that I do with women that Thanksgiving isn't always a perfectly rosy holiday. There can be some really challenging family dynamics that surface and that you have to navigate at this time of year. And so I've gathered my thoughts on that into this episode, and I'm going to share it with you. I've actually aired this episode before, but I'm going to re-air it this week because one, I think you can't hear it enough, right? You have to be reminded sometimes as you head into these gatherings that you have more control than you may be thinking you do or feeling you do over how the day goes down. So I'm going to share this episode with you. And then also it gives me some time this week to focus on my family and on having some time off as well. So I hope you enjoyed this one. It is all about navigating family dynamics at Thanksgiving so that you can get through that day feeling really joyful and grateful and blessed, which is exactly how we're all hoping to feel by the end of this week. So happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. Here's the episode. So first, I have to tell you that today is a really special day in our family. Today is my oldest daughter's birthday. And, for all of you who have children, I think you know what I mean when there's something about when it's your oldest child's birthday, because it sort of reminds you of exactly how long you've been a parent. So for me, this is 14 years of parenting, which is really, I know it's so cliched, but it's really hard for me to believe. And the cool thing about her birthday is it always falls really close to Thanksgiving. So I remember the year that she was born on a Friday night, really, really late. So technically Saturday morning. We were discharged on Sunday late in the evening. And by that Thursday, we were traveling to be with our extended family for Thanksgiving. So I have all of these synchronized memories of the Thanksgiving holiday and, this beginning of a whole new chapter of parenthood with this tiny little girl. And it was perfectly timed for me because Thanksgiving has just always been one of my most favorite holidays. It has something to do with the food and family and the warmth, and I love fall. Everything about it has always been pretty magical. We traditionally have spent Thanksgiving with my mom's whole extended family, and I have her oldest brother and his wife hosted for years and years and years as the family grew, and it's changed somewhat in recent history. But there's this very strong tradition of that family gathering at Thanksgiving for a very traditional experience. And this week, I know many of us will be traveling, this is the over the river and through the woods chapter, right? To gather with our family or with friends for Thanksgiving. And while it has truly always been an amazing, very positive, warm experience for me, what I've learned through the work I do at Brilliant Balance is that it's definitely not that way for everyone. I love the holiday. I love my family. I love the conversations that unfold, but it's just not always the case. And as I've unpacked this a bit with women, it seems to be centered in the fact that we get back into a cycle of old patterns with people who have known us forever. And because of that, it can be a really uncomfortable holiday where we sort of revert, back to childhood in some cases or early adulthood. And we have these setbacks in great areas of progress that we may have made for a long time, but we sort of go back to the way that we were many years ago. And so I think that can make us uncomfortable because we get glimpses of pieces of ourselves that we've maybe tried to evolve past. So if Thanksgiving is not your favorite holiday, maybe even if it is, but if you think there's an opportunity to reframe the way you think about these family gatherings, the dynamics that unfold at these family gatherings, I put a few ideas together for today that I think could be really valuable. And the idea here is not to take you out of the experience, but I am going to suggest a few things that have you in a more observational role within the experience to see if we can get you a little bit of freedom to rewrite the way you want the day to unfold and get a much better outcome, right? I think I'm really looking here to help you make a shift in your perspective more than anything else. And so what I put together is I gathered my thoughts on this, and I think there's 4 big ideas here that I want to share. And they unpack in sequence, and let's see if it gives you a bit of a pathway to follow as you lead toward Thursday's holiday. And of course, we're entering into an entire season of gathering with extended family and old friends, so you may find this serving you well beyond the Thanksgiving holiday, into December and into 2019. So the first piece that I would say is I want you to think about what it will take for you to go in strong. Go in strong. And here's what I mean by that. What do you have to do to take good care of yourself in advance of the holiday? Is it about the amount of sleep that you get the night before? Is it about not traveling, until the middle of the night or getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to get on the road? Can you do some things around the way you structure the travel so that you feel adequately rested? Is it about the way that you wrap up work before you leave? Are you somebody who's cramming it at work until the very last second and then getting in the car and sort of exhausted heading into the holiday? What do you need to do that morning? Do you need time to work out? Do you need to be outside? Maybe you're someone who needs time in prayer or in meditation or to journal. I think that what I see a lot is that we give up all of the things that we know make us feel strong because it's kind of a crazy day, right? So a lot of us will say, I don't have time to do that because I'm staying in a hotel or I'm staying with relatives and maybe you're sleeping on an air mattress, and none of these things that are your typical patterns of how you would feel strong feel accessible. But I'm going to encourage you this year, don't talk yourself out of them and don't let anyone else talk you out of them. If what you need to do to feel great for that day, to feel strong, is to get up in the morning and work out and then take a shower and take a little bit of time to really get ready and feel your best, then do that. If what you need is you need to sleep in and feel really rested and you need to be in your comfiest, coziest clothes and throw your hair up on top of your head in a ponytail, then do that, right? But really give it some thought on what is it that allows you to go into that day strong, because that's the foundation for how the whole day is going to unfold. Okay, that's the step 1. Go in strong. Now, the second piece of this is going to unfold when you're arriving at wherever it is that you are celebrating Thanksgiving. So the concept is I'd like you to think about observe before you engage. Okay, observe before you engage. So what does that mean? Well, imagine that you were like a reporter, right? Or an anthropologist maybe. And you are someone who is attending this family's or this group's Thanksgiving celebration for the first time. So I want you to sort of float above the room for a little bit, or stand on the edges and take it all in instead of getting sucked into it from the second that you arrive. Because what's happening? If you get sucked in, you're right in old familiar drama, familiar conversations and patterns. We're going to create a little bit of a buffer of protection before you step in. So I want you to watch, what familiar scenes are playing out around the room. How are people gathered? Who is all alone, right? Where are there deep conversations going on with just two people? Where is there a gathering of people laughing and really leaning into the experience? Where do you see drama playing out around the room, right? Who looks uncomfortable? Maybe look at what questions are being asked on autopilot. Where do you see a lot of small talk taking place where people are trying to get reacclimated and re-comfortable with each other? Who's changed a lot, since the last time you saw them? And just don't react to any of it, right? Sort of be in that observational mode where you're really just noticing what's happening all around you before you drop in to the experience. So we're going to go there, right? We're going to drop in because this is your event, but it's helpful to stand at the edges and take it all in at the beginning. Why does that matter? Well, it gives you a lens of objectivity on the day. Right? The hard thing about these extended family gatherings for so many people is there's so much emotion. There are so many old tapes. There are so many triggers that can go off inside of these gatherings. And so what we're trying to do is create a little bit of distance before you go in to just witness what's happening around you. And what might happen is it might give you a bit of a reframe before you really engage. Okay, so that's the second point here is take a moment to be in an observational role, right, before you actually get into the experience. So that may last anywhere from a few minutes to the first hour. You're not being antisocial. This is not about no, don't talk to me. I'm in observational mode. It's just sort of your way of being, right? The lens that you're coming in with. And again, the amount of time you stay in that space is variable, but you at least want to have a few minutes that you're kind of checking in with, taking stock of the room before you get into the experience. Hey friend, ever wondered why you're so tired all the time? Why you need that afternoon caffeine hit every day just to stay in the game? Hint, you probably need more sleep. So I created something just for you. It's my 7-day sleep makeover. I'll teach you the 3 steps you need to move from exhausted to energized so you can live out your brilliant dreams. Head to brilliantbalance.net/sleep and start your sleep makeover today. You're going to love this. Okay. So now we have you strong and we've spent a little bit of time in an observational lens. Now I want you to think back to when you were maybe 10 or 11 years old and you had one of those books that was called Choose Your Own Adventure. Do you remember these books? I loved these. They were, you'd read a part of a chapter and then it would say, okay, if you want the girl to go into, the house, then you keep reading here. If you want her to keep walking down the street, then you skip ahead to page 32, right? And then the story would sort of pick up and there would be another point and it would have you again choose which outcome did you want to be following. So we're going to call this part Choose Your Own Adventure. And what I want you to think about here is the fact that you are really very much in control of the day. Right? You have a lot of discretion over how this day unfolds, over who you spend time with, what you spend your time doing, who you're talking to, who you're not talking to, what you're eating, what you're not eating. You have a lot of control over the day. And it is a choose your own adventure book that's unfolding. So here's a couple of places you might want to think about. You don't have to spend time with every single person who is in attendance. Maybe you adore your grandma and she's going to be there and you haven't seen her. Maybe you see her all the time and you just really love her. You could spend hours, right, sitting with her and tending to her and having an experience with her. Maybe you love the children and you really want to spend time at the kids' table, or maybe you want to do a craft with them, or, make some sort of special game that you're going to spend with the kids. Maybe you have a favorite aunt or a favorite cousin who you could talk to for hours. Give yourself permission to do that, right? It is perfectly okay for you to find your favorites inside of the room and focus your energy and your attention and your time there, because that alone is going to make you feel like you have a lot more control over your day. Okay. And by the way, while you're in those conversations, one tip I would give you is ask great questions. Here's why. Think about how much of the anxiety around the holidays that we feel really centers around a fear of being judged. You get asked that same question every time. So when are you and he going to make it official and get married? Right? Or, so are you two thinking about having children? When are you going to start a family? Or, hey, are you going back to college? Like all of those questions that we get asked that make us feel like we're being judged are a big part of the anxiety. So if you sort of take the mic and ask great questions, not judgmental questions, but open-ended questions, ones that get people telling stories. I mean, guys, stories are everything. Right? What will happen is your day will be so much more entertaining, so much more memorable if it's filled with stories. And, especially if they're ones you've never heard before. So often, if you give this a little bit of thought when you're in that observational mode about who do I want to spend my time talking to? Who do I want to learn more about? And then go ask some great questions of those people, you will have the best day you can imagine. Just listening to these stories unpack, because everyone loves to tell them. And rarely do we really get asked. So you be the asker, right? It's a great chance for you to take that seat instead of feeling like, you are, required to answer the same questions that you've answered every year over and over again. So that's kind of the conversational part. The other part of choose your own adventure is, what is everybody doing at your holiday, right? If you hate that everybody eats a big meal and then passes out watching football, then don't do that. Don't grab a seat on the couch. Maybe you lead everyone, or you lead a few people to go take a walk outside. Maybe you'd rather play a board game or do a craft. You can have a level of influence over what the activities are that are happening. If everybody's drinking too much, you don't have to be the person who's drinking. It's okay to choose your own approach to how the day is going to unfold. And so if you think about the things that have caused you distress or that might be making you feel anxious about the holiday, I want to invite you to just take a little bit more control over how your day unfolds. No one else may want to come along with you. You may be the only person who goes for the walk. You may be the only person who is choosing not to, overindulge in whatever. But that's okay. That's going to get you to the end of the day feeling like you've had the experience that you truly wanted to have. Okay? And that brings me to the fourth point, which is I want you to think about deciding how you want to feel. Because look, at some point in the day, in all likelihood, the drama that you thought was going to play out is going to play out. The annual pattern that you've observed, the fight between these two people, or the conflict between these other two, or the tension between these other two, at some point, it's going to play out, right? Because it's a pattern for a reason. But here's what you can change. You can change how you respond. So I want you to think before you go into the holiday, how do you want to feel? Instead of, resentment or anger or judgment, maybe you try empathy or compassion, right? What made this person behave this way? What is it? What happened in their history? What's going on with them right now that's making this behavior surface? Or maybe you try lighthearted humor, and you laugh at it. You kind of play, I saw that one coming bingo, right? And it's maybe there's somebody in on the joke with you and you can wink and smile at them when it plays out instead of, gritting your teeth and rolling your eyes. So The concept is think about how you want to feel. What's the state you want to be in? And don't give control over that to someone else. Choose another way of responding to the dynamic. And again, two really good ones, empathy and compassion or lighthearted humor. Those are two great pathways that can get you out of some of the negativity that you might be feeling otherwise. Okay. So again, the objective here is we want to get you into the holiday feeling great. Feeling like yourself, feeling the way you do in the rest of your life, right? And not feeling like you're being sucked back into a pattern that you've tried really hard to escape. So 4 points that we made today, I'm going to recap here. The first was go in strong, right? What does it look like for you to take really good care of yourself so you feel like you're unstoppable going into this day? Right? You want to kind of at least start that way so that no matter what comes at you, you've got a really strong foundation. The second point is as you're coming into the event, observe before you engage. This gives you a little bit of emotional distance, which could be valuable as you're understanding like what's shifted or changed since the last time you really checked in as an observer. Third, we're using this metaphor of the books you read as a kid. Choose your own adventure, right? You are in control of the day. So you choose. Who are you going to spend time with? What's the conversation going to be about? What's the activity that you're going to engage in? What are you not going to do, right? You choose your own adventure. And the fourth point was decide how you want to feel. Remembering that the only thing you can ever fully control is how you respond. So are you going to try empathy and really understanding? Are you going to try compassion? Are you going to go for lighthearted humor? What is it for you? How is it that you want to feel throughout the day? And how can you make that your reality this Thanksgiving and beyond, right? Into the other gatherings that you have coming up so that what we want them to be are uplifting, memorable experiences. And that's my wish for you. That's what we want you to be able to elicit. Because beginning now, we walk straight into a month of holidays. And I think that it's going to be important that we stay in the right state of mind as we do that. All right, that's all for this week, friends. Next week on the podcast, I have a guest. Jessica Herron is the founder and CEO of the Stella & Dot family of brands. And I can't wait to share her story with you. We had a fantastic conversation about starting an entrepreneurial revolution. So it's going to be amazing. Enjoy your holiday. Tag me on Instagram. Show me your holiday table. I'm at C Skolnicki. And I'll look forward to seeing what Thanksgiving looks like in your house. I'll see you next week. Until then, let's be brilliant.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.